Welcome to Go Home Eat, a wrestling podcast. Wrestling podcast. Wrestling. Impact Wrestling. AEW Wrestling. New Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yes.
And we have New Japan Jared here. We have the Go Home Eat Kid Ray here as well. Impact Wrestling begins with Dreamer versus Brian Myers in a rematch from the special event they had. Dreamer wins in a DQ. Myers begs for Dreamer not to use the kendo stick.
He's got kids.
Yes.
He's got 2 little girls, I think he said.
Mm-hmm. And then Myers flips the script, gets the kendo stick. Dreamer shows kindness, which is what allows all this to happen. Thumb to the eye. Security galore. Scott D'Amore, who seems to be omnipresent now on this show.
I mean, he's their, GM figure.
Yeah, but for a long time you never saw him.
Yeah.
In the last, since the pay-per-view that kind of rebooted the company, he's been on all the time. And he's interacting with all the new talent is what it is, as a boss type figure trying to get him in line.
I think a figure like that, especially if he's not showing up in angles, he's not coming out with a microphone giving people, yet. But having that kind of central authority figure is useful in a show like wrestling. I know NXT had Regal for a while.
They still do.
Yeah, where it's he's not around, but he is a voice of authority. Right.
They use the Regal well because he just basically makes matches.
Yeah. And that's kind of all you need him for.
Yeah, right.
And Scott D'Amore's a good talker.
I like him.
His comedic timing's pretty good too.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Oh yeah. Now Moose can't find his title belt. He's furious. Oh, big time heel mood. Did you see the Skansa truck in the background when Moose was looking for the belt?
I did not.
Skansa is the company that was building our bridge that didn't bolt down the forgive me, but I think it was their responsibility to bolt down the barges that wound up in people's yards and things like that. And the bridge fell in half. Big time heel move by Impact to the Pensacola community. Thanks a lot, guys. Okay. Anyway, he never did find the thing, and he's very mad. Then we go to a Bravo segment where Crazy Steve, the Deaners, Johnny Swinger, Aaliyah, and they need money for a wedding. And Falaba has a plan. Since he's the best man, by golly, he will come up with the money. And we cut to the Beat Rohit Challenge, answered by Willie Mack. And Rohit says, nope, I already wrestled you. We're not doing that. So then it's answered by Jordani Grace, who wins in a roll-up as Rohit is saying he needs to stretch his hammies, I believe, or his quads or something, and as he doesn't want to take his belt off, and then when he finally does take his belt off, Willie Mack tries to take it from him from outside the ring. They get into a tug of war. He winds up letting go of the belt, falling into a roll-up to lose said match, and we have a new champion. No, we don't, because Rohit did not explain to anybody that the Beat Rohit Challenge did not involve title matches.
That's an important asterisk.
Everybody should have looked into that.
You got to read the fine print.
Scott D'Amore shows up out of the blue. Did not know he worked here. Sets up title match with Rohit against TJP, Chris Bay, Trey Miguel, Willie Mack, Jordani Grace in a 6-way scramble at Bound for Glory. And to your credit, when you said he was funny, D'Amore was funny here. He complimented Rohit, and to the point where Rohit kind of almost thought they were on the same side, and then he hit him with the you'll defend your title against 5 other people.
Yeah,
which is perfect for that particular role right there. Falaba spills coffee on Hernandez.
Oh man!
Right above a huge roll of money around Hernandez's neck, which, in theory, if you want to keep your money,
that's pretty
showing
close.
It to everybody by your throat.
But
you're not going to grab it there because he's Hernandez.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You might try to get his wallet stolen, but if you just put your money out there and you're just like, all right, come take it.
You ever see the the things where they had the rescue dogs in the wilderness in the snow, and they had the things around their necks.
Yeah,
below
like the tiny little barrels.
Nothing against Hernandez, but he's not far removed from that with the money roll under his neck.
Yeah.
He's a pretty stout looking dude with a big old neck.
Dude, I need one of those rescue dogs with money around its neck.
Yeah, right. Rescue my bank account. AC and Larry D Triple X fight Dez and Winch the Rascals, and the Rascals win in a fun little back and forth thing. Then we go back to Falaba, who has now snuck into the shower room where Hernandez is getting the coffee off of himself. The quiet ninja-like 500-pound Falaba steals said money roll, and now we have a way to bankroll the wedding, which I'm guessing bringing demons in from wherever they stay and finding a place for them to go to a hotel is expensive. Rich Swann's working out in Orlando. Jimmy Jacobs is there to do an interview, and in the middle of the interview, he is clubbed by a doctor. This is not a very good workout facility. Oh, it's EY. Who knew? EY must have snuck on board the plane. Jimmy Jacobs never noticed him. Snuck into the facility, dressed up like he was in a nurse outfit or a doctor outfit, one where the scrubs,
like
scrubs with a mask, which I guess nowadays everybody's wearing a mask, so easy to infiltrate. Ninja light, a lot of ninjas running around here. And so Rich Swann's leg gets beat the snot out of.
Yeah.
Machine Guns and Good Brothers banter. This is always good. The Good Brothers are really laying it in thick here as we go, and they're here to win the Machine Guns titles, by God. Rosemary and Taya Valkyrie versus Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. This was great. Rosemary and Taya wound up going over. I like them kind of making Rosemary and Taya a formidable force heading into a wedding, because there's probably going to be something in there that chinks the armor a little bit. Yeah. Cody and Jake Diener versus Swinger and Crazy Steve. Swinger tries to cheat with Crazy Steve's monkey, which he will have none of, and then there's a DDT and a win.
Yeah.
For the other team, for the Dieners, which is good. Deanna Purrazzo broke Susie's arm. Gia Miller interviews Kylie Ray, who is furious about what they did to her friend, and then what's the girl? Not Kylie Ray, the
Su Young, not Susie. Kylie Ray.
Kimberly.
Okay.
Kimberly. Yeah. Okay, I get the two mixed up. Kimberly rolls up on her and shoots her mouth off, and then lets her know that she doesn't know how that Susie is bad, and does the finger cross thing. And that's when Kylie's had enough and attacks, can't control herself, and then seems terrified at her dark side. Maybe Kylie Ray goes to the Susie side of the force.
I would love that.
Yes.
I would love that.
Yeah. Okay, now we have Scott D'Amore in a contract negotiation with Heath Slater after... Is he going by just Heath?
Heath Miller?
Heath Miller is his real name. I apologize.
I don't know if he's going by just Heath, though. I don't remember.
Hashtag Heath's what he's going by.
Hashtag Heath, yeah.
Right. His Victory Road performance warrants a contract with Impact, and Heath has signed up a huge contract with many pages of what all he deserves. Scott D'Amore had one page on there with a number.
You get paid X amount.
Right.
For X shows.
He said that he had never been a jobber and that he was a big deal. And D'Amore mentioned that he had lost quite a bit on Mondays and Fridays and Tuesdays and Thursdays or whenever else he wrestled, and said you weren't on pay-per-views all that much anyway. And he took offense to that. The negotiations break down. He storms off, and then he says something that I was really stunned to hear come out of his mouth on Impact Television, because they said Monday, because D'Amore says Monday, Friday, Tuesday, whenever pay-per-views. He says to Rhino, after my Raw performance with McIntyre, I was offered a contract, and you told me I could do better here. I think we have confirmation that WWE is going to Impact.
Yes. The whole company.
Yes.
McMahon to Impact.
Yes. Vince will be there next week. Oh, but anyway, this winds up, he storms off mad because he could be making money doing nothing, I assume. which is what they were paying him to do before. But anyway, EC3 throws the title in the river. This show is off the rails. Sami Callihan tells Ken Shamrock to attack innocent bystander in hallway. Right now, I would not take a job working backstage at Impact if Ken's just going to go around breaking people's ankles.
Yeah, man.
Because he's crazy.
Yeah.
And
ninjas running around attacking people.
Right.
I guess that wasn't on like Impact.
That was
ground, right?
That was Raw.
Was Raw?
Ninjas running around.
See, I was talking about EY still.
EY, yes. Single ninja.
Yeah, no.
I don't think that's how that works. Okay.
Not quite.
Okay, so then we had Motor City Machine Guns, Sabin and Alex Shelley versus Ace Austin and Madman Fulton. Now, earlier in the day, the Good Brothers had promised they would protect the Machine Guns because they want to beat them for the titles. They didn't say they would interfere for them, but they said, nobody's going to jump you while we're around till we get those belts off of you. And so we get a really good match. All these guys are great workers. The Motor City Machine Guns wind up winning. The North does come down during the match to try to interfere. The Good Brothers come down to get involved with that. And then this turns into mayhem as we go to credits. Ace Austin, Madman Fulton, everybody's fighting. And the tag team division here, obviously, when you name the North, the Motor City Machine Guns, Ace Austin, and the Good Brothers, we also had the Rascals. That's a lot of really good tag team wrestling teams. And so it kind of is appropriate that they're highlighting that, especially considering I'm sure they actually did pay the Good Brothers a lot. Like Motor City Machine Guns, I don't know how much that really cost them because I think Sabin already worked there. And Shelley, I'm sure they paid him, but not like they're paying the Good Brothers. So, and the Good Brothers, not only are they paying those guys, but they're giving them their own. Do you have to pay them to do that? Because maybe they are just allowed to go negotiate with Fight TV. Like, I don't know. Do you think that's a co-production when they do their own little weird comedy pay-per-view?
Maybe, probably not like on an official level. Like, you know what I mean? Because I don't remember there being any, like, if Impact was producing it, I figured that they would probably want their name on it somewhere. And I don't remember anything Impact related. So maybe they like, hey, man, can we borrow some cameras or something? Something like that, but I don't think, like, officially.
I can't even remember. I think they could have done all of that in their yard with, like, 2 cameramen.
I'm pretty sure it just was in their yard.
Yeah, so they really didn't have to have Impact involved at all. They just had to
2 cameras and their buddies.
Send that over to Fight. And Fight might have gave them the cameras.
Yeah, honestly.
And send them 2 cameramen. Why not?
I'm pretty sure it did really well, so shoot.
Yeah, right. Well, so that was a nice, easy Tuesday show. No problems with that. Then we move on to the main event of the American Wrestling Week. The American Wrestling Week. And I'm going to emphasize wrestling because this was a Southern old school style wrestling show for a few minutes when we get the dog collar match. That is one of the things that happen here.
Yeah.
Brian Cage versus Will Hobbs is how we start this thing out. Great way to really intro Hobbs to the big time here, I felt like. He loses to a title contender, but he did really well. And it is a testament. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I almost read that wrong. His last will and testament move on Cage for a 2 count.
Which is a dope name for a move, by the way.
Correct. And Cage winds up eventually winning. Taz basically, he quits being a commentator for 30 seconds in his impartial commentary and decides to be a manager again, in which he says, hey, you're going to join our club or else we're going to beat you down, which allows for Darby to come in and get the save. Ricky Starks had come out. I thought this was a really good way to start the show. I thought it was exciting.
Dude, I love seeing big, meaty men slapping meat.
That's right.
It rules, dude.
Big E call out.
Dude, Taz, I think, was great on commentary here. I think Taz, as he's commentating one of, like, his wrestlers, he does end up putting the other person over. But he's always like, oh, but my guy's better. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which, again, he's not tearing them down at all.
Right.
Also, Excalibur, in the middle of this, he says that, like, he tells Will Hobbs, like, backstory, or, like, his brother shielded him from gunfire and died, and I was like, oh my god. And then I watched Will Hobbs get kicked right in the mouth.
Right.
And I was like, wow.
What a moment. Yeah.
There were there were just a lot of emotions going through my head at that point, and I was like, well, that's tragic and sad.
Yeah.
And then he gets kicked right in the mouth.
Right. And it was tragic and sad.
It was.
And it's but you need to know these things. You need to know about these characters that we're trying to enjoy and become fans of. Yeah. And the next match is AEW Tag Team Championship match. Hybrid Theory 2 gets their 20-minute brush with greatness.
We're getting closer.
Jack Evans and Angelico versus Cash Wheeler, Dax Harwood, the FTR. These are two of my favorite teams in the company, and they did really well. I felt like you mentioned off air that Jack might have struggled with a couple of moves here and there.
He looked a little sloppy, but that again, the stuff he does is so high level,
right?
That it's just like, wow, the fact that he has been able to do that perfectly consistently,
right,
is crazy.
Right, and then he does wind up selling an injury, which causes him to miss on a finisher. I believe that wasn't an accident. The top rope where he doesn't quite get there. I thought that was he kind of hopped up to the top rope and all
absolutely,
that.
Yeah.
I did feel like they, usually when these guys wrestle, Jack Evans gets to be the star, and I felt like this was a little bit of an Angelico showcase.
Oh, it's dope. Angelico's so good.
Yeah, he's really good.
Dude, his submission stuff he's been pulling out recently has been crazy.
And athletic.
Oh, yeah.
So they wind up almost pulling it out, of course, a couple of times. And then the champs wind up with the Lariat Tiger Driver. And they pull it out with aerial tactics, which I think, did JR claim that was a shot at the Young Bucks? Something like that?
Yeah, he said something like that.
Which was funny, yeah.
I guess.
Then we cut back to the Bucks, who for some reason super kick a cameraman. Because they're heels, by God.
Wow.
And heels kick cameramen.
Evidently.
Mm-hmm. Best friends.
Oh, I did want to say that one shot of them watching the match, and like Matt had his back turned and like his head turned all the way around to watch the screen was a good gag. I will say that much.
Best Friends Challenge next week. They come out and they call the guys weenies, and they have weenie shirts. And they said for a couple of backyard comedy wrestlers, we're going to get our championship match next week. Then there was a little bit of fisticuffs, and they come out on top with that. And FTR retreats in one direction, Tully grabs the belts in the other.
I have to say, I did not love the weenie shirts.
No, that felt
a little forced.
Yeah, it felt like just real low bar. And I get that, I don't know, even with the best friends, that feels low, like a low bar for them and their form of stuff anyways. I don't know.
But we're not going to be down long because Cody's here.
Cody's here.
With the most understated entrance in the biz.
It's so simple. He just walks out, like $500,000 of pyro goes off.
Mm-hmm.
Every single week.
Right. And blood streaming down through the halls of Hades as Cody approaches. And then you see the heavens open up and Cody comes out of both heaven and hell at the same time.
That's
two fireworks.
The duality of man.
It was so good. Oh my God.
I miss Cody. I'm not even going to front that I didn't. I think he's a good addition to the show, although we'll talk about it.
Okay.
I thought it was kind of weird when people were getting mad at this entrance because it's kind of always been like that.
It's just what he does. It's not like he was going to change when he came back. It's not like he was going to just come out to like normal music.
All right, Mr. Brody Lee is his opponent and the champion, the head of the Dark Order. We get a TNT title match, which is a dog collar match. Violent, bloody, vicious. Moonsault to Crossroads. And you have a new champion.
Oh, Greg Valentine was there, right?
Greg the Hammer Valentine, who was in the last known dog collar match.
Like 1983.
He was never the same after that match. He knew Roddy Piper, even though Piper went on to win multiple titles. Greg looked confused.
Every cutaway they showed of him, and I feel like this is an issue in general with like wrestling shows that do cutaways to celebrity things, they always look a little confused.
Mm-hmm. I think Greg just kind of walks around looking confused anyway.
I think that's just his resting facial expression.
Right. He was like that when he wrestled.
Yeah.
And then when he got out there, it was.
I mean, some dudes
brutal.
just look like that.
Now, did you want to say something about Cody here, or?
What do you think of the match itself? I thought it was pretty good.
Two things. One, I had it on at work, and I wasn't able to watch it, but I noticed a guy standing over there where I had it. I had it on like one of the back walls across the bar, and every now and then I'll get to look up, see what's going on, and then of course I'll watch it replay later. And I walk over there, and he's got a Muay Thai shirt on and all that, and I say, "You like the wrestling?" And he looks at that, and I didn't know it was on. Dog collar match. He goes, "You got to be some kind of effing stupid if you spend your time watching something that stupid." Ugh. And he turns and starts walking off, and he turns it back to me, and he goes, "I'm sorry." And I go, "It's cool. I'm the one who asked the question. You don't like wrestling. I get it." But it was funny because I did enjoy the match, but it was just funny because
I watched this match actually because I watched it with you.
While watching wrestling, crazy.
Yeah, crazy. Especially how I've been viewing wrestling lately. But I thought this match was kind of. I didn't like the dog collar. Not the biggest fan of the dog collar. It's just. Why wasn't like rope around the wrists, and why was it?
Well, it's different. I mean, it has a lot of the same principles. I've watched the wrist rope matches several times.
Where do you even buy a double dog collar?
You make it, Ray. You
what
can't
do you do?
buy that anywhere.
My two-headed dog.
Also, why would its heads be chained together? Whatever. It's all kinds of confusing. We can't go down that line of logic.
This is a wrestling podcast.
But, I mean, I thought it was neat to see the match stipulation again. It was very old school. I just like the spots where they just yank the rope and just pull each other.
yeah,
I just think it's brutally efficient.
yeah.
Like, Cody goes for, like, some rope move and Brody just, like, yanks him down.
Or when Cody did the slide between the legs and he pulls him.
Yeah.
And then also, dude, again, it's, you are telling 365 days worth of stories. A dog collar match is fine. I enjoyed the match. I just mentioned that story because A, it happened, and B, I've heard all the time how we're going to bring new eyes to this product. And I thought to myself, because it feels to me, and I haven't really placed it yet, but it feels to me like they're more like trying to bring eyes that have gone away from the product back to the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, they were trying to get that whole, like, lapsed fan.
And I do think that they are wrestling in a style that is more, like we've talked about before, more anime. And so hopefully they can bring that version of new eyes to the product. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd be honest with you, the guys like that guy,
there's no reality in
you weren't
any
you
kind
weren't
of
going to
match.
get him anyway,
No.
right? So it's fine. But I just thought it was funny because I don't think that if you're flipping around channels and you aren't a wrestling fan, you see that and go, that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? But, dude, it was brutal. And now Cody, the little Cody I did get to see when the little guy gets cut for Dark Order, and what is she calling herself? The
Anna Jay?
Anna Jay, but she's got a nickname for herself now. The Queen Slayer.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
99.
Yeah, 99. She calls herself the Queen. It's whatever she's referring to Brandy as. She's the Slayer of that.
Yeah.
And she comes and gets him, walks off, and so then Cody blades. And when you cut back to the camera, they cut back just a little too quick, and Cody's in the process of sliding the blade under the ring apron when they cut to him. And I was like, oh, cool, I got to see, I saw it. You know what I mean?
It's fun to have the curtain peeled back a little bit sometimes.
I loved it. And it was weird, too, because then when the guy pulls him to the other side, he, like, tries to put his hand under that one, just to kind of, I guess, make you think that when he's around those things, he puts his hands under him for some reason, because he's covering up for the fact that he stuck it under the other side. Anyway, it was fun. Then Cody gives the babyface promo. Cody will not leave us even in darkness. This is his life. His lifetime's work. He's not going heel anytime soon.
You should know. You talked to him, right?
He texted me. He texted me afterwards. You want to hear the text?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I can pull it up real quick.
I will go ahead and say that.
Go ahead while I'm looking for it.
The optics of this victory are not very good.
Why is that?
Well, okay, Cody gets into a program, loses the title, then goes to film a TV show with, like who's on that TV show? Like Rosario Dawson and who's Snoop Dogg?
Mm-hmm.
And then he comes back and immediately wins the title back.
Yeah. That's how that works.
Because he's Cody Rhodes.
It just looks bad. It looks like they took the title off of him so he could go film a reality TV show and then immediately put it back on him.
And lost to... And it was funny, too, because somebody pointed out he lost to the guy so badly that he had to go away, which creates a monster, and then he gets to go slay the monster first day back. Storytelling.
Yeah, a monster.
Yes.
But everyone knew he wasn't training. He was just...
I don't know.
You don't know that.
It
There's
just,
more than 1 hour in a week.
I enjoyed Brody Lee as the TNT champion.
Are we ready? Thank you all. I couldn't ask for... This is Cody to me. Thank you all. He calls me all sometimes.
Yeah.
I couldn't ask for better fans. He refers to me as fans, too, every now and then. This run has been the time of my life. Thanks for following me from age 20 to now. I've been there the whole time. It's genuinely a wrestler's dream to be able to provide hope, escape, and just incite any love across the barricade. And I replied, of course, bud, we're besties.
Yes. He's a busy man, so he hasn't replied back yet.
Yeah, see?
Yeah, I know. I'm visually confirming.
It's true.
Exactly.
I think
what
I
it
even
says.
used we're right. WE''RE, right?
Yes.
I need
He'll probably
my
get me.
best friend.
I'm here for you, Code.
And yeah, I don't know.
Orange comes out to be.
Oh,
he says
God.
I will do an open challenge next week. Orange comes out and does his little finger thing, and Cody gives it back to him. Not that finger. It's like a thumbs up type thing. And
I live for the day that Orange Cassidy comes out and just flips someone off.
right. He's the only guy I'll accept it from now.
Absolutely.
And I feel like Cody's going heel next week.
I hope so, man.
I feel like this whole I'm never going to cheat on you, I would never cheat on you thing is what the husband does right before he goes to the bar. You know what I mean? And I feel like he gets in there with Orange, and Orange is whooping his butt a little bit, and he takes a couple of shortcuts, and we start to see who Cody really is.
I hope so, man.
And
I hope so. I'll reserve my judgment, but if then in like a couple weeks Cody's still like cutting crying babyface promos covered in his own blood, I'm not going to be thrilled.
I need my championship.
Big Swole versus Serena Deeb. And this was a good little thingy.
Good little match. Yeah, absolutely.
And I liked Swole here. I still think Deed's a better wrestler, but I think. But that's okay. Because her job right now is to put people over.
Absolutely. And Swole's getting better all the time.
Right. And Swole hits her with the rolling elbow, puts her away.
Dirty Dancing.
Dirty Dancing, even better.
Dopest name. And she hits a good ass roaring elbow.
Because nobody puts Swole in a corner.
Nobody.
Yeah. And she's going to move up the card. Hopefully she gets to be in some things that aren't comedy skits. I do think she handled all those skits well with Britt.
She's funny.
Yeah.
She has little segments on BTE.
She also on on Twitter, she also interacts and says things about WWE a lot. Not bad things either. Just
her husband works there.
Who's her husband?
Cedric Alexander.
Okay, maybe that's why then.
Yeah.
But she does, say things about stuff over there all the time.
And
it's usually positive, which is kind of cool too, in contrast to what we get from other people, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris Jericho and Hagar versus Luther and Serpentico. Now, I failed to do this. You know what? We'll just get to that in a minute. We'll just go through this part first. Jericho winds up having a good little match here. Luther is past his prime, obviously. He does things out of character here, but it's okay. I mean, this whole thing was a celebration of Chris, and one thing Chris, I think, wanted to emphasize is that he is a giving performer who puts other people over. And he did that, managing to still pull it out with the elbow. He winds up interrupted by MJF when they start to have the party for him. MJF brings out a clown with a gift, and the clown has a portrait of MJF once they unwrap it, and Jericho, in typical wrestling fashion, breaks the gift over the head of the clown and then gives the clown the finisher.
A vicious.
Yeah, he hit that a lot cleaner than he did his finisher in the match.
Dude, I mean, I go back and forth on the juice effect, but when it looks good, it looks great.
Well,
and when it looks bad, it looks bad.
You know, when Andrade does it, it's money.
Oh, dude, Andrade's like the smoothest performer out there today.
Right.
It's not
right.
the most fair comparison.
Well, no. I was just saying, like, the move specifically.
Yeah.
It depends
on, like,
it can look really good. It's just
selling. A lot of it's selling, I think.
Well, when it's
distance.
good.
It's the distance, because you have a performer who's supposed to be stumbling into it or accidentally moving into it.
Right.
And you have a performer who's supposed to be delivering it, spinning and moving forward. And with Jericho, usually if it doesn't look good, it's because he hit him with his armpit.
Yeah.
He just got too close.
He's a little too close. Yeah.
Right.
You need to hit him with, like, the meat of the arm.
If you're half a foot away, then you hit him with the tricep or the elbow, and it looks great.
Yeah.
And he does that, half the time. You know what I mean? But then they begin to give each other trouble until they laugh it off. We're getting to a heel versus heel feud. MJF is going to have a major announcement next week that he wants Jericho to be there for. You liked all this?
Yeah, I like the end credits too.
Yes, everything was brought to you by Jericho.
Every single one.
That got me. That got me. I didn't expect it.
The last little segment of the show was so crazy. It was surreal.
Now,
and Excalibur said something like, Jericho's camera 4?
Yeah. Now, they did have only the heels came out for the celebration on camera, which I thought was perfect, right? Because it's bad guys.
You always see the opposite, where it's like faces come out to cheer the winning face and all that.
Right. They did that well.
Opposites, again, it's funny.
Now, some things I didn't talk about here, which I think are important. Yeah. AEW had a World Championship tourney set up where Jungle Boy, Kenny Omega, Ray Phoenix, Wardlow, Colt Cabana, and Hangman Page are going to be in it. We got 2 more people to be announced.
That little Kenny bit, that little Kenny interview was great.
Where Kenny continued to specify that Page was a tag team wrestler.
He kept saying that, and he's like, I'm not worried about Page. I'm not, worried about Page. He kept saying Page over and over, and it's like...
Right. Now, Archer had a good little promo. I'm excited about this tournament. Archer had a good little promo, but Mox's promo was something.
Dude, Mox's promo was awesome.
Yeah, he talks about Archer said, you don't defeat him, you survive him. He said, I barely got out of Japan with my my teeth.
Something like that.
With my teeth in my head, my hand.
Yeah, that was it.
Something like that. And then he says, I'm wrestling people every week. When you are in this job and you're the guy, eventually, somewhere along the line, your card gets punched. This might be that time. But not unlike a samurai contemplating his own demise every day. Because funny, when we did a thing, if you want to go check our podcast out on Ghost Dog,
The Way of the
Samurai, all this stuff is kind of covered in that. But samurai, that's how they go into battle and not worry about their death, because they have visualized how they will die prior to the battle. And they do that every morning. And it was cool that he harkened this up.
I saw that and I was like, that's dope.
Well, and he alluded to it a little bit he led into it, not alluded, by the Japan statement earlier, right? And then he said, and plus he's heading over there fairly soon to wrestle anyway.
I hope so.
And then he says, like you always say, everybody dies, and he takes a shot of his whiskey or whatever, because the promo's done in a bar. And I just felt like I just love Mox on the stick now.
Dude, he has been putting out some phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, he's so good. so good right now.
Past year, honestly.
Yeah, ever since he's got here.
Yeah.
Ever since he's got here. And he's always been good on the mic, but he is allowed to say exactly what he wants now. And it flows so well for him.
He feels cool.
Absolutely.
In a lot of ways. You know what I mean? Like, he feels like legit, like, badass. Like, oh, dude.
And you know what, too? He's not of this time in that he's a little bit of a classic guy and a classic heel, but he's a modern take on it.
Yeah, it's modernized a bit, yeah.
And it's so perfect for what AEW tries to present itself as, and tries to present itself as successfully, mind you.
Correct.
Right. Now, back to Jericho. The whole show was based around Jericho. It was 30 years of Chris Jericho. They did it well. Slash, Lars Ulrich, Diamond Dallas Page, Tanahashi.
This was the best episode of AEW Dynamite they've had yet, just because Tanahashi was on it.
Don Callis, Dennis Miller, Lance Storm, Kevin Smith, Eli Roth, Gabriel Iglesias, Chavo Guerrero Jr., Steel Panther, Ultimo Dragon, Paul Stanley.
Dude, it was cool seeing Ultimo Dragon. That's awesome.
Yeah, Paul Stanley was the last one, and Jericho's a big kiss mark. Having Gene and Paul there was probably real cool for him, but he is actually friends with Paul, which is interesting. That was a weird thing where Paul's kid was a WWE fan, and Jericho found out or something and like hooked it up, and next thing you know, they were buds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're off and running. So Jericho's smooth like that. Actually, one of these days I may just pull out some of my notes from some of his books and just read them on one of these things, because I have my issues with Jericho. Lord have mercy. This week he flustered me with some of what he's done, and I understand the whole. I'm not in either one of your columns politically and morally. I'm not.
Ethically.
He, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And I get the whole. I'm neutral, and the only way we can get along is talking and all of that. Sometimes I would like. Here's my thing on that, and I'm just gonna say it. He does a lot of things that stir up stuff, and then he puts out, when Eddie Van Halen passes, here's a guitarist that never cared about your politics. He just wanted to rock. And it's like, okay, dude, that's cool.
Read the room.
And I'm not saying you're wrong. Here's my point. You're the one who brought up politics.
Dude, it was never like a thing.
You did it. That's on you, dude. It's
why?
okay.
And why did you do it?
It's okay. You know, but my thing is, you decided to put your foot in there. Okay, well, your foot's in there.
Yeah.
Just live with it. You know what I mean? And it's okay, though. You know what I mean? And I'm, you are who you are. And Jericho is a guy who has always, his whole career, and this is the 30 years of Jericho thing, his whole career has been, I need eyes on me. How can I do that? And when Bischoff wouldn't let him on TV, he would just go bother Bischoff and say, give me 3 minutes. I just want to go out there and talk for 3 minutes. And Bischoff would be like, Jesus, Chris, fine. Go out there and talk for 3 minutes. And he's, okay, that worked. Give me 4 minutes. Give me 4 minutes. Come on, man. You're not doing anything. Kevin doesn't even want to work. Scott, they don't even want to go out there right now. Let me go out there. Oh, what? You can't get Hogan out of the dressing room. Come on. I'll run out there and talk. And he kept doing that. And then that turns into, who was it? Disco Inferno claims that the list of Jericho was his idea, and that you owe me, right? Okay, but and here we go again though. The list of Jericho is one of the things that probably got a guy like Vince to go, hey man, that guy can wrestle, but he's entertaining, and they've been stealing my guys. Yeah. What if I take their X-Pac and I make their X-Pac rock? And he did it.
Yeah.
But the thing is, you can buy a guy a hat and put it on his head. Don't make him a cowboy. That's what he did with he bought Chris a hat, put it on his head, and he was a cowboy.
Yeah.
Because Chris could fit the role, any role you wanted to give him, and he's done it time and time again. I've never thought he was the absolute best in the ring. I think he's very good on the mic. I mean, he's very good in the ring too. Always has been. I think he's very good on the mic. I don't think he's the greatest on the mic. I think he's outlasted all the other great mic guys until this new crop has started to come up.
I mean, yeah, the longevity is crazy.
Right. But then again, he's been smart enough to go away and come back. And if you want to talk about Chris Jericho, the industry, Chris Jericho, the pro wrestler, changed the game when he became the painmaker and went to Japan. He changed all of pro wrestling that day. He changed the game when The Rock and him went toe-to-toe on Monday Night Raw, his first day there. He changed the game. The big countdown to who he was, Y2J's coming down, boom, the whole thing. He changed the game. Podcasting. He was on this podcasting thing before anybody. He's had
around for a while.
He's had everybody on it. People I don't particularly care for, people I love. Books. Multiple bestsellers. He's got one coming out, and this is Chris Jericho.
All of them.
Isn't this his like 4th or 5th book?
30 years of smashes, thrashes, and hits. You know what smashes, thrashes, and hits is?
What is it?
Kiss's greatest hits album that came out in about '89.
Yeah, I bet.
You know what I mean? I used to have it in my tape deck when I drove to college. Kiss's, and it's a unique greatest hits for Kiss because it's not makeup. It's not all makeup Kiss. It's got the Paul Stanley. It's got the years where
so you hit the skip button more.
It's got the years where Gene doesn't really want to work anymore, and Ace and Peter have been fired, and so it's basically Paul Stanley's band. Which of course Paul Stanley is Jericho's guy.
Yeah.
Yes. And so when I sit here and people were talking, and I say to people, well, I'm not really a Jericho guy. I've literally followed his every move for the 30 years he's been a pro wrestler, since he came on my screen, probably ECW. And I like one of his books, he lists his steps to success. And I have a notebook in which I made notes about what he wrote with his steps to success. And that book's not even all that old. I mean, I'm in my mid 40s taking notes on why this guy has been able to be successful. And one thing he does is he inserts himself in everything. Randy Orton this week, Eddie Guerrero's birthday came up this week. Randy Orton says, you know, you took me under my wing when I was backstage, Eddie. I'll never forget you. I love you. Jericho is not in this tweet anywhere, and he just replies, you were hard to take care of. We all loved you. We all took care of you. It's like, dude, this had nothing to do with you, Chris. But you wanted to make sure everybody knows that you were part of how Randy Orton got over. And it's funny because, and you know what? There's nothing wrong with it. This is his formula to being who he is. He inserts himself in everything. And it works.
Yeah, I was about to say that formula has been
He's
wildly
omnipresent.
successful.
Omnipresent. And he can put himself, and he can lead, but what he does do, he hasn't done it yet for this company, but one thing he does tend to do that allowed him the success in WWE for many reasons was he'll leave for a little bit and come back. Now, he may know he's old enough now that leaving for a little bit and coming back might
be the last time.
He may not be able to perform like he does now if he were to walk away. But that allowed him, well, with WWE, it allowed him to have the cachet to tell Vince no. You know, which other wrestlers, he could avoid the pitfalls of WWE because he could say, well, Vince, I'm not coming back if you put me in that. Like, remember, he was put in a storyline with Fandango, and he still, to this day, complains about it because he said, I didn't have a problem putting somebody over, but give me a reason, make it a point. And he said, I never came back for anything that didn't matter after that. And so, Chris, congratulations on 30 years. Amazing guy.
Damn.
Amazing legacy. I think every pro wrestler owes you a debt of thanks because they're all doing podcasts now. They're all figuring out 4 and 5 revenue streams. He was the dude.
You got to diversify your portfolio.
He was the dude that figured it out. And that turned into the Young Bucks. That turned into everything else. Well, actually, probably the Rock and Roll Express, I believe, were the dudes, but still.
Yeah, in terms of merchandising.
Right, correct. Cutting up towels and writing Rock and Roll Express. Anyway, so AEW was great. What happened in New Japan, Jared?
This was a great week in New Japan, in all honesty. I'm caught up with day 12, which I think was like Friday. I haven't watched the stuff from day 13 or 14. But for day 9, I'd probably recommend Jeff Cobb versus Jay White. Cobb's been putting out some, like, they're not great matches, but they're quite good. Mostly because he is just a physical specimen.
Mm-hmm.
He is absolutely ridiculous. Watching him toss around Jay White was incredibly satisfying.
Right.
You love to hate White.
Right.
Taichi versus Ishii was a really good match. I felt like it was a lot like their last match from the last G1 they had, which I really, really enjoyed. Taichi and Ishii have a really cool dynamic where Taichi's the kind of cheating heel in a lot of ways, but when prompted and when he has to, he'll fight the same way Ishii does, just going hard, kicking you right in the head, getting suplexed and then, getting up screaming and hitting you with a move, stuff like that.
Right.
So Ishii really has brought that out of him in their previous matches, and it's cool to see. Because Taichi was trained by Kawada, and you see a lot of his moveset in the way that Taichi wrestles when he wrestles like that. Like, a lot of the time, he'll kick you in the nuts and do the Gato clutch for a quick pin. Or he'll hit you with a mic stand or his, like, fingered iron glove. He'll do that, but I love watching him wrestle like this. I would love... every match I have, I'm just like, man, I know you could do it. And I want you to do it. But he's, it's that back and forth on the character is so interesting to me.
Mm-hmm.
I used to hate Taichi. When I started watching, I was like, this guy sucks. I was like, this guy's terrible. He rips his pants off. And he just doesn't, it's just whatever.
He's a pretty good worker, though.
He is a great worker, in all honesty.
Yeah,
his
and
matches,
he works a little differently than the shtick.
Yeah.
You would think he'd be more glamorous.
Yeah, no, he, but again, that's kind of the back and forth on him is he comes out and he's like, he pretends to sing into his mic stand. He looks like he's Phantom of the Opera mixed with Prince. Wait, that sounds dope. They should make that.
Yes. He's not that cool.
Goth. No, he's not that cool, actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, no.
If Prince would have written a Phantom of the Opera, that would have been dope.
There are so many bad Phantom of the Opera adaptations. A Prince one would have been wildly interesting.
Yeah, right.
Regardless of quality or adhering to the source material, it would have been a spectacle that I would have thoroughly enjoyed.
But he wasn't covering that face.
No, unfortunately not. I feel like his...
Isn't this a wrestling podcast?
Well, okay, listen. Every podcast you have, no matter what the subject, if you get on a tangent about Prince, you have to follow that rabbit hole.
Right, correct.
Okada Suzuki was also really good. The main event of that night was Ospreay Ibushi, but I felt this match was, like, not very good at all.
Right.
And even outside of the issues I might have with those specific performers, it was just, like... It was short, and it felt like
this match again?
Ospreay versus Ibushi, which they had
a year ago. That would be incredible.
Clash of styles.
Yeah, and I don't know. It didn't work out. It never felt like they actually like hit the groove in the match, anyways, and it just felt like it ended prematurely. I don't know. It was weird. But day 10 was probably pound for pound the best night overall, most consistent. It starts out with Zack Sabre Jr. versus Sonata, which is just... They're like wrestling soulmates, where every match they have against each other is something special. It's something...
Submission specialists.
Dude, yeah, man. I love the ending to this match, too, because they have the usual back and forth, and then Sonata actually ends up getting a finisher pin instead of one of their usual roll-ups. But this felt like they were both 100% on top of their game. Their back and forth with the submissions, rolling each other up over and over, just rolling around on the mat was phenomenal. It was on point the whole match. And I just love this matchup to death. It's so good. But Sonata picking up the dub is awesome, especially with his finisher, which is new. I think every other match they've had has ended with just like roll-ups. Not exactly roll-ups, but just like pinning combinations.
Skull end or
moonsault. The moon and moonsault. He hits that right after Zack tries to go for his own finisher, the Zack driver, which I thought was interesting. As soon as they introduced finishers into the equation, Zack Sabre Jr. lost.
I like how the Zack driver is so much less cool than the Michinoku driver.
Michinoku's just a cool name, though. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
He goes by Taka, anyways. I miss that guy. I don't remember what happened to him. I know he has his own promotion, and I think he got caught cheating on his wife. That wasn't great. Goto versus Yano. Goto Yano was also a phenomenal match.
Yes.
It was 18 seconds long. Yano is really... This matchup's really interesting because traditionally Goto has not, even for a second, been willing to kind of buy into Yano's nonsense.
Yeah.
Like, I think over the past decade, the amount of time they've spent in matches with each other has been like less than 5 minutes. I remember someone posted that fact, and I'm like, whoa. Yeah, this one was 18 seconds long. Yano, like, tries to give Goto a shirt. Goto, like, throws it down and then just, like, rolls him up with his, like, cool pinning combo, the Goto Shiki. It was great. It was really funny. It was exactly what Goto needed after getting pinned in, like, 2 minutes by Zack Sabre Jr.
Right.
So for him to go out there, he just blows him up.
Right.
Just 18 seconds. Pure joy. It was awesome.
He's kind of a no nonsense kind of guy anyway.
And I love seeing that with Yano. I love the variety of matches Yano has with his shenanigans, but then occasionally you get matches like with Goto where he's just like, I'm not going to put on your shirt, dude.
Right, the Clown Prince.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love seeing surprises like that. It's always so fun. Then it was Yoshihashi versus Naito, which was another really good Yoshihashi match. And Naito has been showing his just ability to work with everyone. He's been doing really, really good this tournament.
Right.
Juice versus Evil, which was a good kind of, classic babyface versus cheating heel dynamic. Classic, still good. One of Evil's better matches, I might say.
Since he's become a heel.
Yes, since he's become a heel. And then topping off the night, Kenta versus Tanahashi, which was a lot like the previous match, but with these two guys having so much in kayfabe, out of kayfabe, reasons to hate one another and their connections with Shibata specifically, that adds a lot of layers of dimension to this match that made it really compelling. There's at one point Tanahashi hits like the corner drop kick that Shibata does, that Kenta also does. He hits that, which is so cool to see. It's little details like that set a lot of matches above on a graph. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Just sets them a bar above.
Right.
So highly recommend Day 10. It was awesome. October 6th. The next day, Okada Cobb was just a wonderful display of Cobb's strength. Dude, that guy's unreal. I really like this match. I mean, it wasn't great. It was pretty good. Okada's still doing this weird thing across the tournament where he's determined to not win with the Rainmaker. But there's been a couple times he's inching closer to using it.
He's bringing it back.
Every match.
We'll get there.
He goes for it a little bit. Or he tries to go for like a half one. He's inching closer to it, which I think is an interesting story, even if it doesn't make for the most interesting matches.
Right.
Although I'm also cool with Okada not being literally in the forefront.
There kind of has to be an
24/7.
excuse for him not to be winning.
Yeah, for other people like Ibushi or Naito or like Tanahashi and Takagi to get that like top level run. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Even if I hate the Cobra Clutch. It's not very good.
It's easily the worst move in his moveset, and
it slows the momentum of the match to a screeching halt every time. Oh well. Anyways, another great match from that night was Taichi versus Jay White. I love heel matchups. Heel versus heel, especially when these two guys are slightly different kinds of heel.
Mm-hmm.
They're both kind of slimy, but in noticeably different ways. This match was funny because Jay White always does his like roll out of the ring thing as soon as the bell sounds, and Taichi does that too. It felt like in a lot of ways they were playing the exact same mind games on each other. It's good to just see someone like level with White and not buy into him at all. It's kind of like why I like the Naito White feud, where Naito is infuriating in a lot of the same ways that White is, where he's just, okay, man, I know what you're doing here. It's the same thing I do. Come on.
Right.
That's a good dynamic. The main event was Takagi versus Ibushi, which was pretty good. Not maybe great, but probably still worth checking out if you're a fan of either of those guys. I didn't actually watch Ospreay versus Suzuki, but I hear the first 5 minutes was Suzuki just beating the snot out of Ospreay. So if you're into that, you might enjoy that.
If you want to see Ospreay get beat up?
Yeah, if you want to see him just get, like, smoked. Next day, Zack Sabre Jr. versus Yano was... Again, this is another one of those times where it's like Yano's matches are so different with different people. At the beginning of the match, he's like, okay, Yano says, like, no BS. He removes, like, 6 rolls of tape that he had hidden all over his body. It's actually kind of crazy.
Mm-hmm.
He just keeps reaching into, like, pockets and underneath his knee pads and just pulling out rolls of tape. And it's like, how many of those do you have?
Like the guy when they say, all right, take out all your weapons.
Yeah, and he has, like, a mace.
In order to get on the plane or whatever. Yeah, right.
It's like 2 pistols, a mace.
Right, or go into the police station, whatever it is.
Stuff like that, which is just crazy. But you actually do see Yano, like, mat wrestle a bit. He was an amateur wrestler in his youth, so he does have the ability to do that, and just stuff like this is cool. It's just a fun matchup, too, because Zack Sabre Jr. is such a good straight man.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, Yano does end up resorting to cheating. Not particularly surprising, but he, like, sticks Zack's arm through one of, like, the like, bicycle rack barricades and, like, tapes his arm to a chair on the other side. So you can't, like, pull it through until, like, 18 seconds before right before they count him out. Zack, like, thinks, he reaches in, rotates it, and pulls it out. And then he gets in the ring, and the referee's yelling at him because he's got a chair. And Zack's like, well, I didn't do this. Right. Why would I do this to myself?
Right.
Just screaming at the referee, like,
right.
That's not, he did it.
Right.
Great comedy match. Great comedy match. Goto versus Yoshihashi was pretty good. Juice versus Naito was great, and I think Naito's is taking, in some ways, more of a black hat in this tournament, but like with the Sonata match, it's not so much to be bad, but to be annoying and motivating. Like, he would taunt Sonata specifically to make him be better.
Right.
To care more, to be more involved. He does the same thing to Juice here.
Juice is having a good tournament.
Juice is having a great tournament. Juice's matches have been really good. And in this thing, he was, mocking Juice a little bit with the whole, the punch thing he does.
Thing. Juice.
Yeah, so he was mocking with that, but it doesn't feel... It's not mean. It's not being a huge jerk for no reason.
Right, I get it.
He's doing it to motivate him, and I think that's cool, and I think that's an interesting dynamic to have.
He's
with
bringing
Naito.
up the competition of the people he's the champion of in the tournament.
Absolutely, which is what a champion should do.
Right, absolutely.
It's cool, man. Sonata versus Kenta, really good.
Right.
The battle of the silver-haired handsome fellas. And Evil versus Tanahashi was really good as well. So all in all, a phenomenal week, really. And awesome. I've heard the last couple nights have been off the chain.
Right.
So I'm real excited
to watch the next couple. Good deal. There's rumors that AEW and New Japan have reached some form of an agreement. What do you think about that?
I wouldn't read into it a whole lot. I mean, it's only been a week and a half maybe since Harold Mage stepped down. It would not particularly surprise me if there have been tentative reaching out, but I would not look too much into it for now.
Would you like an AEW goes to Japan? Can I fantasy book?
I don't.
Yeah, you go ahead. Yeah, I'll talk about what I think.
I'm completely 100% fine with it.
Yeah.
But I only want the ladder matches, stuff like that in the States.
Yeah.
If they go to Japan, don't bring the nonsense.
Yeah.
Don't blade.
No dog collar matches.
Don't blade. Don't dog collar. Don't ladder.
Cody's not allowed then.
Well, you know what I'm saying though.
Neither is Dustin.
If you want to do that,
That's like half of the roster gone.
Have you a double build? Have you a double build one? Put it in the Garden or whatever when they get back to full audiences.
They're going to Blade anyway.
and do it that way. Don't take all that nonsense over there, because I like I don't know if purity is the right word, but you know what I'm saying. I like that, and it's funny because we just talked about a guy with 20 rolls of tape on him, but you get where I'm coming from on that.
That's an outlier, and it is a welcome outlier because of the variety it adds. Absolutely,
right.
As for me, I would think that the best way to do it would just be to sparingly send talent back and forth. Like, okay, send a guy or two over for the G1, a guy from AEW over to New Japan for the G1. Send a couple tag teams from New Japan over to AEW
for a tournament.
For a tournament, for stuff like that, where it's not so much like maybe occasionally a joint show would be dope. Like 1 year have it in America, 1 year have it in Japan.
Do one in the Cow Palace. Do one.
Yeah, stuff like that where
Tokyo Dome.
But as for like big, really big angles, I don't know. I wouldn't want to. I just don't feel like it would really benefit either one. Like, let's just say Okada comes over and wins the AEW title. What does that do for AEW? What does that do for Okada? What does that do for New Japan? Nothing.
Right.
Not really.
I get it.
It's just a guy from another company coming over. And again, there's more room for positive things, I think, lower on the card. But yeah, I think sparingly it would probably be the best. But I don't really know what New Japan's relationship with Ring of Honor's like at this point.
I'm pretty sure they're open with Impact, because I'm pretty sure the Good Brothers are going to want to go over there at some point.
Well, New Japan's weird with Impact because there's definitely some people in management at New Japan that have not forgiven Impact for their not great partnership.
Well,
even if it's like Jeff Jarrett's fault, they still hold that against Impact as a company.
Also, I know with Ring of Honor that
the Guerrillas, the matches that Impact had with New Japan weren't that classic either. Like, you forget that Tetsuya Naito had a match with Jeff Hardy. You forget that because it was forgettable.
But you don't forget that Enzo Amore jumped the rail during a New Japan show in the Garden, and Ring of Honor signed off on that and never told any of the talent what they were doing.
And that show was kind of a mess from the Ring of Honor standpoint.
Dude, the Girls of Destiny still aren't cool with it. I heard him talking about that the other day. He was like, dude, it ain't your show. You didn't sell out the Garden. New Japan sold out the Garden.
Jay White, personally, sold out the Garden.
He was hot. He was hot on that podcast. Okay. I
don't know. Well,
is that a wrap?
It's all up in the air, I think, for a while. But again, if there is any partnership, I would prefer it sparingly.
Cool. You had a good week. Great
week.
Great week for New Japan Jared, for the Go Home Kid Ray, for me KP. Go home. Copyright 2020. Go home.